Hi, it's Grant here and welcome back to Daily Breakthrough. You know, you worry so much about your business, but there's no need to because chances are you don't even have a traditional business. And let's have a look at that. Well, hi, it's Grant here. And you know, I've been a business coach for a very long time, and the big word in business coaching that's, I suppose, annoyed me so much for so long is the word business. It's one of the most Googled words, and it's tough when you lump a whole bunch of things under the one title. It's like kind of like saying that everyone that lives in Australia is Australian, and we all sort of get tarred with the same brush. It's the same in business. When you say you have a business, people generally think that you're the same as the next person that has a business. And you know, and I know that that's not always true because there are many different kinds of business and many different styles of business. So when I say I'm a business coach, what that really means is that I coach and train and mentor and help people, just like you, who own what you would consider and maybe the general public would consider and people who aren't as educated as you would consider to be a business. Now, I've seen businesses come and go. I've seen friends, very dear friends, do incredibly well in business and then just as quickly have to sell their business or become broke. The perception is that if you have a business, well, you must be doing well. You must be wealthy. You must have so much spare time. And here's one that you probably just love hearing as much as I do. Wow, you've got a business. You're so lucky. And don't you just want to inflict grievous bodily harm upon people that tell you you're lucky? You know, I've shared with you in previous videos, my wife and my children and I, we're heading off on a cruise in about 33 days from now. Not that I'm counting, but I'm counting. And I spoke to somebody about that on the weekend, a friend from church. And she said to me, well, you're going on a cruise. You are so lucky. Luck has got nothing to do with it. Let me tell you, it's an absolute ton of hard work. And I know that you know that. But what are you working on, really? I mean, you say you have a business, but maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have a traditional business. Let me share with you what I believe a traditional business should look like so that you'll know if you have a business or not. And in today's video, I'll share with you a couple of other kinds of business models that you might even fall into or fall under. So a traditional business should have, first of all, a head of the business. And to know you have a head of the business, you should have in place an organizational chart or an organizational structure. And what that looks like is, imagine a whole heap of boxes. And at the top box, you've got the CEO. Then you've got the CFO and the COO, Chief Financial Operator, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief of Operations. Then you may have the person in charge of finances, CFO is Chief Financial, COO, Chief of Operations, person who runs the ship. Then you may have some other general managers. Then you may have a sales manager, a marketing manager. You may have some people who do the grunt work. You've even got the person, the janitor, who puts out the bins. And at the moment, if you were to do an organizational chart like that, chances are almost every person in the business, every person on that organizational chart has got your name against it. And if that's cool, if that's the way you like it, then that's cool. If you're set on growing your business and replacing a whole heap of people in that, then that's cool. You know what, Michael Gerber talks about that in the E-Myth, about replacing all those people along the way. And if that's where you'd like to go, that's cool too. But if you have a look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, if you have a look at most of the government websites, you'll know most businesses in Australia and New Zealand aren't wired that way. In fact, statistically speaking, most businesses in Australia are simply monetized hobbies. And that might be the kind of business that you have. You may have a monetized hobby. And if you do, that's fine too. But you've got to learn that you don't have a business per se. You don't have a traditional business. Even though you pay tax like a business and you pay bills like a business, you probably don't have a traditional business, and that means that you need to run the business on a completely different scale and a completely different model. What you need to know is that that business relies so heavily on you that you need to get incredibly good at planning. And if you haven't become good at planning yet, then you really need to go back and watch the video that I have done previously on planning, and leave a comment in that video telling me that you'd like some of the planning tools that I provide for my clients. But most business operators that have that monetized hobby just turn up to work every day. And what have you got then? You've got a poorly paid, highly stressful job, JOB, which stands for, in most cases, just over broke. You see, 1/3 of all businesses that start won't be around in 12 months, and at the best case scenario, 3 years in this country. And if you think that the rules don't apply to you, then think again. I've been in business myself in a completely different model now since 2003, and it's 2017 at the time of this recording. And what have I learned that's helped me to get this far and stay this consistent with my growth? Well, it's quite simply the admission that I don't have a business. In my case, I have a practice. And the practice means that I am the practitioner, and within that practice, I need to operate under a completely different model than I would if I had a business. So what about you? What do you have? Is it a business? Is it a monetized hobby? Is it a practice? Or is it something entirely different? And then how do you describe yourself, and how do you think about your business? And then again, who are you comparing yourself to in the world of business, in the greater umbrella of business, that perhaps you could be comparing yourself to in a more fair and equitable way? There's no point comparing yourself and your business to a business that operates on a completely different kind of business model. It's like chalk and cheese. The two things just don't go together. So why don't you spend some time and have a discussion in the comments below and find out what kind of business you have. Why don't you go ahead and ask me what kind of business model you should be operating under, and tell me what some of the frustrations are operating under your current business model. And by the way, if it's tax and the amount of tax you pay, don't worry, I'm with you on that, and take solace in the fact that at least you have a successful enough business to be able to pay a high level of tax, because the opposite is just terrifying, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Have you enjoyed today's video? If you have, let me know by giving me a thumbs up or subscribing, or both. Share it with your friends. Social media shares are a favorite of mine, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow for Daily Breakthrough.